neighbor, welcome back to Beyond ARTV. My name is John, and it's time to review the second album of this year and the fifth solo album overall by rock musician Jack White. This one is called Entering Heaven Alive, and I've been very excited for the sound and the sonic direction that he was hinting at, with this being the second release, being a little bit more unplugged. His first album this year, Fear of the Dawn, had some tracks like Shedding My Velvet and Taking Me Back that definitely did keep me coming back, but I failed to connect with the kind of mad scientist experimental tone of the album, and it felt like he was pulling the knobs and the levers and polishing things up sometimes just because he could, and just because you have the bell or the whistle doesn't mean that they always need to be plugged in. Now, of course, I recognize that that's just my viewpoint on that record and that a lot of people loved it, but what I'm driving at here is that Entering Heaven Alive was set up to be the more acoustically inclined, something reminiscent of many of the softer White Stripes tracks, in addition to Jack's own solo material. And honestly, with this album coming out in 2022 alongside another record, this one is oddly reminiscent more so of anything else in his discography than, I would say, Blunderbuss. These two definitely have a lot in common, and ironically enough, Blunderbuss is my favorite Jack White solo album by a comfortable margin. That's not to say that he's never impressed me outside of that, but it's more so tracks instead of full-length albums. However, with Entering Heaven Alive, Jack White, the coffee addict that constantly mentions it throughout the record, gets a lot more introspective and personal and loving. This is a very positive album, and maybe it's just me, but in this dark, dark world, especially in my own dark times that I've been going through, it really spoke to me, and I feel like this album is something to cherish, not just because it's kind of simple in the way that it gets things across and parlays the aura to the listener. This deserves love and attention because it's Jack White doing what he does best, and that's writing extremely strong songs from the heart that don't necessarily have to take all of these extra twists and turns and hit the exit ramp and then swing a right. It doesn't need the complicated directions. It gets things across in the way that Jack wants to, and I think his feelings are definitely on the sleeve. At times it can be a little bit cheesy, perhaps it's grating. I hope the cheese metaphors are doing something for you, but if not, then revert back to the colors on the hat and Third Man Records. Entering Heaven Alive was, of course, recorded entirely during the COVID-19 lockdown. It was written, conceived alongside Fear of the Dawn, possibly more material that'll surface in the near future. But what I'm driving at there is that Jack, of course, produced this project himself, and it very much feels intimate in that way, but it doesn't come out with the same resonating feeling that I think a lot of COVID albums have, and that often reeks of isolation and desperation and painting it in more of a negative light because that's how affected many of us, myself included. But for others, maybe more creative minds like Jack White, perhaps it was kind of this time for lyrics to bloom and for thoughts to form and for songs to come together, and that's kind of what this feels like. Back to basics in many ways. It takes a lot of the extras out of the equation and just delivers a lot of genuinely great songs, with my personal favorite being If I Die Tomorrow. That song has an incredibly psychedelic feeling to it, and I love the fact that he's able to combine so much nuance and convey this icy emotion. It just stokes up a lot of feelings in me, and it's easily one of my favorite tracks of the entire year. Outside of that, there are some other incredible songs, although nothing tops If I Die Tomorrow, clocking it at the gold standard that it is. I really enjoyed the lead single Love Is Selfish. That's a song that I really do enjoy the confessional side of. It's very honest in its lyricism, and it sets the bar and kind of the idea of what this album is going to be, and honesty is kind of at the core of it. A Madman from Manhattan is so well arranged. I love the drums and the overall acoustics on this song. The way that Jack sounds as he tells a story and builds out the song with these kind of fleeting, bluesy almost guitars. It sounds really chill, really nice, but at the same time, you're hooked and in the moment. I think there's some weaker cuts, and I think the lyrics on tracks like Help Me Along do fall into the not-so-good territory, and I think A Tree on Fire Within, as nice as it starts, is kind of this piano ballad. I don't really feel that the nursery rhyme he's trying to get across sticks. You guys will have to let me know what you're thinking of Jack's new album in the comments section. Entering Heaven Alive, his 5th studio album overall. I'm going to rate this a 4 out of 5. Thanks for watching this quickie review. If you're confused as to why this was posted on Beyond ARTV and not the main channel, you may have missed my community post that I put up on the main channel, but essentially the scripted and more planned content will be staying on ARTV, and the more unscripted stuff that I can do freeform will stay here. Thanks for watching, liking, and I'll see you soon.